Hello everybody and welcome. This is Not a Pro Gardener here. We're coming at you from Zone 6B and we're going to be talking about our seed starting schedule on if we're going to direct seed or seed start, and we'll tell you our experiences with that, and we're going to be talking about when we are going to plant. Then at the end of the video I'm going to show you a nice little garden tool that's fairly inexpensive that can show you when to plant some crops and when to seed start. It'll give you lots of nuggets of information. I would recommend it for any beginning gardener because it's a very nice informational tool to have in your arsenal. So stick around and you'll catch that at the end. We're going to start with our seed starting schedule and then we'll just plug in the varieties as we go. I'm going to try to put a picture up of the variety so you can kind of get an idea of what they look like. So here we go. Our last frost is April 10th, plus or minus a couple weeks. So you kind of just take it with a grain of salt and you just take away your weeks from there when you want to seed start stuff. On our seed starting schedule first will be onions. I usually do that within mid-January, and the germination optimal temperature for them to germinate is around 70-75 for me, and I've had pretty good luck with just no heat and mat. And I'm doing quite a few varieties. I have the Sierra Blanca, which is an intermediate onion variety. That's where our zone is located, so we got intermediate day onion varieties. We have the Sierra Blanca, which is from Haas, the Red Floyd, which is from Haas, the Candy Onion, which is from Haas, the Deep Purple, which is from Johnny's. It's a bunching onion variety. And we also have a Warrior bunching onion from Haas Tools as well. Next thing we're going to do is we got some spinach. I got some Seaside spinach, and we're probably going to be direct seeding those out in the garden whenever the time is right. And some Aruach spinach, which we will probably be direct seeding out there as well. And those varieties are both from Johnny's, and I have high hopes for those. Something else that we have not seed started or planted, grown before is artichokes. And we're going to try some Imperial Star artichokes just for fun to see if we can get them grown. They won't be able to last through the winter, so they will die back unless we would to put them in like a greenhouse or something, but we don't really have that option. So we're going to just try to see what we can get off of them, just kind of take you along on the process and see how it goes. Next up is something we haven't tried to grow yet either, but we're going to try this year, is some celery. And we got this variety from Baker Creek, the Utah tall celery. And I'll probably seed start that the 4th week of January. And I may have some of this stuff already seed started by the time this video comes out, but I'm just going down my schedule to kind of give you an idea for my Zone 6B. So, all right, and then the germination temp for that celery should be, I Googled it, and it tells you about 85 degrees for the day and 70 for the night. Keep that seed moist, and you just want to kind of sprinkle it on top of the surface and press it in your seed starting mix. You don't want to bury it or anything. It takes a long time to germinate celery from what I've read and heard off YouTube and all that. So we're going to give it a shot, see how we can do with it. And then after January, we're headed up to February. So the optimal germination temperature for the broccoli is around 75. I usually don't use a heat and mat for those either. And I usually do most of these cold season or crops around the 3rd week of February is whenever I like to do them. Plus or minus a week, depends on how the weather is outside. I usually just kind of make that call and see how it goes from there. So I seed start inside my broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, Brussels sprouts, and if I want to, beets, but I might try those during the fall this year. So first off is the broccoli, and I have some Green Magic broccoli from Haas, which is what I grew last year, and it turned out really nice. I had a huge haul off of a 30-foot row of that, and I froze a lot of it, and we burned through that broccoli. It tasted so good, we burned through it so fast that I'm going to grow more this year so we can have more to freeze and put up. And the Eastern Magic broccoli, the variety that I got, supposed to be a more heat tolerant variety, so I'm going to plant that a little bit later than the Green Magic broccoli. And the Eastern Magic broccoli is from Johnny's, and I'm looking forward to that variety. Then the next up is the cauliflower, and the optimal temperature for them to germinate, I've found, is around 75 to 80 degrees. I usually don't use a heating mat on those either. Room temp does it for me. And I have 3 varieties from Haas Tools. Those are the Cheddar, Twister, and the Graffiti. And I grew the Twister last year, and I gotta say, I wasn't expecting it to do as great as it did because it was the first time I ever grew it. First time I ever tried that variety, and I was very pleased with it. We put up so much and gave plenty to friends and family, and they all liked it as well. And we're really looking forward to the Cheddar and the Graffiti. Next up on the list will be we're going to do the beets. If you wanted to seed start those, I'm just going to keep going through my schedule. The next up on the list is beets. The optimal germination temperature for those, I googled about 85. I usually just go room temperature with those, and they do just fine as well. And most of those seeds are multi-germs, so you just got to thin them out as you go. And I got the Touchstone Gold beets and the Avalanche beets, and I'm really excited to try the Avalanche beets. We did the Gold beets last year and Vulture beet last year. I gotta say, we really love the Touchstone Gold beet, so that's why we're growing it for like our 3rd year now. And we're doing all this again the 3rd week of February, plus or minus a week, depends on how the weather is outside. You can always do all this later. This is just the soonest that I possibly can seed start all this stuff. Sometimes I just can't contain myself, and I like to seed start stuff early just to put it out in the garden and see what it does. I like to test the limits of what I can do, and it's pretty fun to do these little experiments like this because it just broadens your experience. Next I got on here is the cabbage, and my optimal germination temperature for that's about 70, 75. I don't use a heating mat on hardly any of these. Usually the room temp's good enough for my needs. And the variety I chose this year for cabbage is the Caribbean Queen, or Caribbean Queen, whatever you prefer. It's like a flatter head cabbage. I have never grown one of these before, and I'm pretty excited about trying it. I got that from Haas Tools, and I'm looking forward to it. Maybe I'll make some sauerkraut. We'll see what happens, but we like our cabbage around here, so we're going to try that variety. Now, Brussels sprouts. The optimal germination temperature I googled for this is about 75 degrees. I usually did it with room temperature with the rest of this stuff, and it did pretty good on germination. Last year we grew our Red Bull Brussels sprouts, and I made very big stalks, but I didn't know anything about growing them. And I've watched some videos from the Lazy Dog Farm with Travis, and he has cropped his leaves off the bottom of his stalk and left the tops. And that's supposed to grow them Brussels sprouts bigger. And I had many Brussels sprouts on these stalks, but they were so small that it didn't make hardly anything because all them leaves, I guess, you sucked the life out of it. So, learned lesson there. This year we're going to try more Brussels sprouts, and we're going to try the cropping of the leaves to see how that does. Hopefully that works, because we would like to freeze some of those and put those up as well for future use. Next thing I got here is The varieties for these Brussels sprouts are Jade Cross and the Red Bull Brussels sprout. And I got both of these from Hoss Tools. I believe the Jade Cross is the AAS winner, which I'm looking forward to trying both of them again. Both of them this time to see how well they do. We'll probably wait till later on in the season. Near last, we'll probably seed start some herbs, some basic herbs. I got some tin from Hoss Tools of the collection. They got thyme, parsley, basil, chives, tarragon, and I feel like there's something else in there that I can't quite recall, but I'm probably going to seed start another round of those, and we're going to try to do some videos on your own little herb box. We have a little raised bed box out there, and we're going to try to do some videos on just that so you can see what to do, how that would look like, and we've had pretty good success with it last year. We do have another variety of basil. I think it's lemon basil or something like that, and we are going to try to make our own salad dressing. We're going to try to figure that out. And all right, the next thing we got on our list is lettuce. It says the optimal germination temperature, from Googling this, is about 75 degrees. And we usually just go room temperature with our seed starts. And they seem to do pretty well. We usually have about 70, 75 degrees room temp. So the varieties I have picked, from Johnny's are the Dragoon, the Breen, and the Truckus. It's like a 3-pack of mini romaine lettuce heads, and I'm looking forward to doing this. And we'll probably succession plant these a couple times. And hopefully, last year growing lettuce, a lot of them bolted with the heat. So I got a shade cloth that I'm going to put over my raised bed that we're going to plant this in and try to keep it growing as long as we possibly can, because we like having our fresh lettuce. So hopefully you stick around and find out how that works. I'm excited to try it. We also have some insect netting we're going to try putting over this. We're going to try putting this insect netting over it as well to try to keep from spraying it as much as possible. And we do have organic sprays that we're going to try for the first time this year. And we're hoping to not spray hardly any of our greens for salads and stuff, just to see how well this insect netting goes. Stick around and hopefully we have some videos come out of that. And I'm pretty excited to try that as well. We usually seed start our lettuce around March, usually around the first week or second week, depends, midweek, whatever the weather looks like outside, but usually the first week of March is when I seed start my lettuce varieties. Around about the second week of March, I got some, I have some rutabagas and radishes. I'm probably going to, if I have an extra tray, I'll seed start them indoors. The rutabagas I really want to seed start indoors, but the radishes I could direct seed those outside and do just fine. I've done that before. I have my radishes. I have a watermelon radish from Hoss Tools, and I'm really looking forward to trying that variety. Then I have a Chinese red meat radish, which is from Baker Creek. And I have just the regular basic red radishes as well, just as a filler. And my optimal germination temperature for the radishes are about 65 degrees. And I've had pretty good luck with direct seeding them, so I'll probably stick to that. It just depends on when I get around to it to direct seed them, about mid-March or later. With my rutabagas, my optimal germination temperature with those are about 70 degrees, I've found with the Google search. I have never grown rutabagas before, but I hope to have good success with them this year. We like mashing them up for a potato substitute, but this will be my first time trying to grow those, seed starting them, transplanting them, etc., etc. And our variety that we got was from Baker Creek, I believe, and it is a Navone yellow cabbage turnip. I'm looking forward to trying that variety. The inside looks yellow, so I'm hoping that acquires a good taste.